Hello, everybody, and welcome back to today's Expert Corner segment. We have the always amazing Neil Townsend joining us again. How are you, Neil?
I'm doing great. It's great to be back again.
Excellent. We're happy to have you. Neil is the Chief Market Analyst at FarmLink Marketing Solutions. Today, we're going to be discussing their upcoming Grain Fox event titled Before You Grow. And we're really going to be having a good discussion about marketing under conditions of uncertainty. Are you ready, Neil?
I'm ready.
Okay, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about the event? And then I want to talk to you about the uncertainties and have a little bit of a conversation. And I know these will be things you guys cover in the seminar. So I'm excited. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here, Tracy. And, I've been at FarmLink for 5 years now. I lead the analytical team, and our main goal is to help farmers reach their financial goals. We have an excellent event coming up on April 6th at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. The event is free. It's called the Preceding Event Before You Grow, Market Insight from the Experts. And, I'm really very excited to have joining us at the virtual event is Jacob Shapiro, who is the founder and chief strategist of Perch Perspectives. We're excited to offer producers a full hour of market analysis, outlook, price opinions, and geopolitical insights. There'll be a live question and answer period. So all the information that you might want to start your season off, it's going to be available there.
Right on. That sounds exciting. As you know, Neil, anything to help producers with their farm business gets me excited. I'm happy to share this. So why don't we share a little bit more about what producers can expect from the event?
For sure. Without giving too much away, my theme is going to be marketing under conditions of uncertainty. And Jacob Shapiro, he's an expert in geopolitical matters, which obviously in the current context, there are a lot of geopolitical matters that we need to discuss.
That was the number one that came to me right away. And when I think of uncertainties right now, I think of the implications of the Ukraine-Russian war. Are you guys going to cover that? Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think this is one of the big issues, obviously, of 2022. It has a lot of implications. I mean, we have, two of the largest agricultural producers and two of the largest net exporters of agricultural goods, and Russia invaded Ukraine, and this is going to be highly disruptive in that area.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, really, at the end of the day, what it's going to mean for wheat, corn, oilseeds.
Yeah, like first and foremost, I'd say, and you see a lot of people discussing this. This is a real food issue. They export a quantity of all three items, like wheat, corn, and oilseeds, primarily sunflower, but also some rapeseed or canola, and even a little bit of soybeans. And these are integral parts of sort of the supply and demand balance when you're talking about world trade. And there's a lot of countries that rely on it. So there's going to be significant implications for wheat prices, for corn prices, for oilseeds, and even a lot of implications about availability.
So as a Canadian, I am really curious what this current situation means for Canada and really for the rest of the world. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, exactly, Tracy. Like starting with the world, it just means that, the loss potential of grains and oilseeds that might be exported from Ukraine or Russia. Primarily, Ukraine's the one that's, under duress right now in terms of being able to facilitate exports. It has to come from somewhere because the world needs that. The reason why there's trade is because there's a shortage in one area, like a country like Egypt can't meet its food needs just by, their own production. So what they do is they import a lot from Ukraine and Russia. And so Canada, not necessarily directly to Egypt, but Canada will have to be a big part of that to kind of say, look, we can pull our surpluses down even further. And of course, compounding that is that we're coming off a quite significant drought in Western Canada. So, we need a good growing season, and then we need to be prepared to be, a very vibrant exporter in 22, 23, including like good facilitation of our logistical system.
Okay. that was something I was thinking about. And as we sit here, it is April 2022. I was thinking myself, and many of us were hoping that this war would be done by now. So I'm curious, what if the war continues? What if the war ends tomorrow? What does that look like for everyone?
Yeah, well, and I'm exactly like you, and I'm sure all of the viewers. Yeah, we want the war to be over as quickly as possible with the minimal amount of damage, and we certainly don't want anybody killed or hurt. But if the war continues, I mean, it's just going to really compromise Ukraine's ability to produce a normal crop. And I just can't stress enough how, like, what they produce, the proportion that they export is fairly central to the rest of the world. It's very hard to compensate for. So the longer the war continues, the more unlikely they are of producing. If the war were to resolve fairly quickly, there's still a question mark on a certain percentage of Ukrainian production because of, the damage done to the infrastructure, the damage done to the fields and that kind of thing. So there would be damage, but it would certainly be, if the war ended quickly, it would mitigate the lost crop and the lost exportable surplus.
Okay. Okay. I want to pivot a little bit. Food supply. Now let's go over to fertilizer and inputs. What are the implications for Canadian farmers?
Well, it's quite significant, actually. I mean, fertilizer, even before the war started, was already in sort of relatively short supply. Availability probably would be a better word than supply. And also the price had escalated quite a bit. And one implication of the war is that we've seen energy prices, accelerate and get much higher, which again, energy is a central component of making fertilizer. So that sort of increases the cost. And there are actually some reliance on Russia as an exporter of fertilizers for Canadian farmers, and particularly in Ontario. So, they don't quite have all of what they need for this year. So the longer the war continues, the more the sanctions are in place. You're probably looking at, higher energy prices and either higher cost of fertilizer and even the potential of a lack of availability of fertilizer.
Okay. That makes sense. Why don't we bring it in a little closer to home? There's been some tough years crop wise in Canada. And I know you're very connected right across the country. So, what are your thoughts? How are things looking in Western Canada for the 2022 growing season?
Yeah, I think farmers are, raring to go. It's been a long winter. It's March 31st when we're, talking about this, the end of March. And I mean, it is quite cold still. Like, nobody's out in their area really doing too much. The big thing is that portions of Western Canada, particularly southwestern Saskatchewan and large parts of Alberta, remain very dry. Like, the drought has not broken yet. So farmers are going to be very keen to see some good moisture either before they plant or right after they plant to ensure that they can have an average crop or even a better than average crop. Because again, this year, the world probably needs what Canada's going to produce.
Wow. You look at the uncertainties overseas, and then you look at the uncertainties at home, and wow. Okay. So again, I know you chat with a lot of farmers. You're connected right across Canada. Where are farmers at with their final planting decisions with so much up in the air right now?
Yeah, I think for the most part, they've probably made them. There's a few, maybe between grains, they can shift a little bit. Maybe the last, quarter section or something, they can switch a bit, but they've made their decisions. And I think when all is said and done, I mean, really the rotation, which is such a fundamental bedrock of Western Canadian farming, is still going to be the leading, attribute. That's still going to be the benchmark for them making decisions. So, we don't see too many really wild crop swings. And I think one that would surprise a lot of people is, despite, a year where canola prices were high throughout the entire year and really traded at record highs for much of the year, we don't see a major upswing in canola acres.
Okay. Interesting. Huh. Okay. Let's pivot again and let's talk about marketing. And that's another fun one after some crazy years and conditions we've had. How are the marketing conditions looking for 2022, 2023? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, this brings us all the way back to our event that we're going to have on April 6th and, marketing under conditions of uncertainty. And I think that's the first thing is that farmers and producers and the market and, everybody who buys and shops for food should expect a lot of uncertainty and a lot of volatility. Um, again, I think a lot of prices look fairly good right now for a new crop. But I mean, so much depends on how Northern Hemisphere production goes. And usually the key countries are Canada, the United States, Ukraine, Russia, and the European Union. And two of those countries are really, really unclear. And in another two of those countries, Canada and the US, there still is a persistent part of the area that has drought-like conditions, in particular, Western North Dakota and Eastern Montana. And then, as I mentioned, Southwest Saskatchewan and much of Alberta, the southern part of Alberta.
Okay. One more question that's really been on my mind and I'm curious about, and it is like the word of the day every day is inflation. So I am curious, how does a high inflation environment impact egg marketing?
Well, I mean, again, Tracy, this is marketing under conditions of uncertainty, and it's something we really haven't seen for 10 or 15 years, maybe more, where, the prices are going up of everything. It's not just agricultural products, it's the inputs, it's the gas, it's labor costs are going up. And I mean, the natural tendency when, governments see this rampant inflation, and, some of it is the byproduct of sort of, the end of the COVID era, shall we say, but now it's more substantive and it's more real. And of course, world events like the invasion in Russia, of Ukraine by Russia, is kind of like, making even more inflation. And then the net result of that is that we're going to see higher interest rates, and we're going to see interest rates get to levels that we haven't seen in quite a long time. And again, most of us, have loans that were, with interest rates that can be adjusted periodically. And, farming costs a lot of money involving borrowing money. So, people are just going to have to be prepared for inflation's bad for you as a consumer. And it's also bad for you as like a business person, because it means that your interest rates are going to go up and your cost of doing whatever you need to do is going up. And again, it circles back to our webinar, where we're going to have, Jacob Shapiro talking about geopolitical issues. And one of the issues he'll touch on in many of the countries he speaks about is, what inflation means. And in those countries, inflation can even mean, a destabilized society where the government is challenged because people are angry at costs. Whereas, we'll focus more on inflation as like, what it means for your return on investment or something like that, where yes, the prices might be higher, but your cost to get the goods that you're going to sell or the commodities you're going to sell has also gone up.
Okay. Two words come to mind: perfect storm. And I can imagine there are a lot of farmers out there that are a little uncomfortable after last year. There's good prices, but the crop conditions, and now you add in everything that's going on this year. I can imagine that many producers would want to tune in and attend your event. So I'm curious, is it an online event? How can they register? Can you share some of those details?
Yeah, definitely. And everybody is welcome. We'd love to have people come out there and see it. It's, sponsored by Grain Fox, obviously, but you can start by going to farmlinksolutions.ca/before you grow. We have a limited number of spots left. The event is on April 6th, 2022 at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's going to be a Zoom event. Make sure you register now to save your seat. This event, you're not going to want to miss it if you have questions about the future. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball. We can't give it with perfect precision, but we can point out a lot of the variables that are in play. And more importantly, your participation in it, if you so inclined, we really want the audience to have a chance to ask questions, to bring up things that perhaps we haven't prepared for the particular event, but are worthy of answering. So this is the time to have all of your questions answered, by Jacob Shapiro and myself.
Okay, excellent. And just so you know, we are going to put the event details in the show notes. So if you're listening, watching this, head to the show page and we'll have links and everything right there for you. So I want to give you a final spot here to talk more about FarmLink and everything you guys have to offer. I'm a big fan of the work that you guys are doing with farmers to help their business, to help them succeed. So can you chat a little bit more about the work you guys do to wrap up?
Yeah, for sure. And once again, Tracy, thank you very much for having me on. And I really appreciate the opportunity. It's always a great discussion. And FarmLink has been evolving over time. And one of the great, products that we've developed is GrainFox. And GrainFox, expands the capacity of the FarmLink analytical team when it comes to, all of the data matters and all of the data, interpretations that we need to do. It's an all-in-one app that will grow with you, that can help producers have all the data that we use at their fingertips. Basically all the information in one spot. And for all the attendees of the preceding event, we have an exclusive offer. You can get 6-month free trial of GrainFox and access to the special preceding report only available on GrainFox following the event. So there is more stuff than we've discussed today, more stuff than what we discussed that we'll discuss in the webinar. We've prepared a special report, both myself and my team and Jacob and his team. So, you've got the geopolitical, you've got specific crop details about canola and lentils and other things. So, we really want producers to come and listen to this. So producers can register for the event and sign up for a trial on GrainFox. All you need to do, just start out by visiting farmlinksolutions.ca/before you grow. And hopefully we'll see you at the preceding event.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Neil. It was great chatting with you. I had so many of these questions on my mind. So I'm excited, as always, for the work you guys do. And again, for the session that you guys are doing. It's going to be great information for farmers at a time when uncertainties are at a high. So thank you for the work you do. Thank you for coming on the show, Neil. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Hopefully by then, winter will be over.
Let's hope. Let's hope. And you in the audience, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to register. And if you enjoyed the session as much as I did, like it, share it, and get it out there so other farmers can hear about the great work that FarmLink and GrainFox are doing. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.